And I'm an addict. The microphone scares me. I don't know why. So let me know if I'm away from it or heavy breathing.
Just need to make sure you stay breathing.
Or, yeah, sometimes I mumble. I have a tendency to get quiet. So let me know what I'm doing. I can't believe I'm standing up here, you know? I remember, coming to convention early on and hearing these speakers and thinking, how amazing that would be to be able to come up here and have a message to share, to have my life be so different that I would even be asked, right, to come up here and share with you guys. And I have definitely prayed a whole lot today because I get really nervous talking in front of people, especially standing up and these microphones. They're very scary. I like sitting down, I don't like being on the spot, but I am. So I'm really grateful to be up here. Like I said, I can't believe it. Recovery is amazing, right? It's amazing. I guess, I've it's kind of like what it was like and what it's like now, right? And so there's a few things when I look back on my past that didn't really make sense at the time, but they make sense now. So when I was really little, my earliest memories are thinking that everybody had to like me or I wasn't okay, or thinking that I wasn't good enough because I didn't look a certain way or things like that, and I didn't know that would be one of those things that would fuel my addiction, because when I used, I didn't feel that anymore, and I didn't have to worry about fitting in or talking to people because it didn't really matter anymore. I've been praying a lot, and one of my revelations was I don't have to share profound shit, right? You know what I mean? I'm I gotta have this big fucking revelation or something to share. And then I was sitting there and I was I just have to share my story. For some reason, I've been forgetting everything this morning. I drove the wrong way, I was going to work. I forgot the money. You know what I mean? It's been one of those days, and I'm God, I just keep forgetting everything today. I think I'm really nervous. So anyway, and that was one of the things. And so then I'm I can't even remember, what the fuck's my story? What am I even going to talk about? Oh my God, I'm going to get up there and freeze. No, so anyway, so that was the thing, right, is I remember, I never felt good enough, and so I thought, I can remember, I wanted to use drugs, and I think I wanted to be part of that rebellious kind of thing, too, and I was a young teenager and thought it would be cool, and I had no idea where it would take me. I had no idea the, horrible places it was going to take me. And so it was fun for a while, and we would party and do this and that. And then, so one of the first times that I can really remember wondering what was really going on with me was I had got pregnant, and I was 19, right? And I was well, I should probably stop using drugs, And I couldn't. And I was why can't I stop doing this, Of course, I was around people doing it every day and watching them do it, and then, wondering why I couldn't do it. I mean, now I'm well, no shit, you couldn't quit. At the time, though, I was you should be stronger. What's wrong with you, And then I had a miscarriage, so then I was well, you are just a piece of shit, And I really, really, sunk down in that because I thought I was such a horrible person that would do those things. Who would do that stuff, And I didn't know. And so I kept using. I remember I had one moment where I had gotten fed up. I had moved to another town, and I was trying to go to school, and honestly, like, I knew that the lady I kept getting everything from, like, I had one of those feelings. I was like, she's getting ready to get busted, and I'm getting ready to go down with her, and I don't know, I just had this moment of, like, well, I was like, I'm not going to do pills anymore, right? I'll still do some of that other stuff, and in my mind, I was doing really good, right? And so I quit doing the hard stuff, right, for a little while, and then I found out I was pregnant again, right? And so I was actually able to maintain somewhat of abstinence for, about 9-10 months, whatever. And then so this was one of those things that I never really got, was they say, like, you pick up like you had never stopped, right? Like I had been using that whole time. And so, of course, I got a script, right, afterwards. And I'm like, I'm going to do good. I'm not going to abuse these. And the next thing I know, I was, like, horribly bad off again. And I'm like, how the hell did this happen? Like, I don't know. It didn't make, like I said, it didn't make sense at the time. Kept using different guys, and I kept thinking, these men that I'm choosing are horrible. They're the reason my life's so bad, right? I kept thinking, I'm just picking worse guys. Like, what is wrong with me? I just need a different guy who's not as bad, and my life will be better. Yeah, I had about a 2-year thing. It was like, 2 years, I'm done with you. I got to find a different one, and maybe this one will be better, right? So then I found one that got a lot of pills. So then I'm like, oh, there we go. That was a match, right? I better marry him. It was a horrible idea. Little did I realize that I was getting worse, right? I thought it was everybody else's fault. So I got pregnant again, and I couldn't stop, right? I couldn't stop again. And I can remember, like, trying, like, really, really trying, and laying up at night and, like, rubbing icy hot all over my legs and not being able to sleep, and that horrible, miserable, sick. And then I can remember when I finally was just like, I can't do this. I can't quit, and then, of course, you're going to the doctor all the time when you're pregnant, and so finally they kind of catch on, and they were like, they made me have the baby. I had to be induced, and it was a horrible experience. I don't really like to talk about it, but it's definitely very key, to me deciding that I wanted to get clean, because, I had people bringing me dope in there, but then I had these doctors yelling at me, and telling me how horrible I was, and I didn't know at the time, like, I didn't understand what was going on. No one had told me that I had a disease, no one told me what was going on, and so, I was very lost, and I can remember holding my baby as he withdrew and feeling so horrible and crying and telling him, I'm so sorry I did this to you, and, but I didn't stop. I didn't want to feel that feeling, and so I used a whole lot more, and there's times I don't know how I got home and would pass out trying to feed him. Like, it was bad. It was really bad. And I thought I was okay, though. I can remember when CPS got called, I was pissed off. Would leave me alone. I'm a grown woman. I can do what I want. I was so mad and resentful. But I can say now that I'm really grateful that they got called, because I don't know if my kids would be alive if they hadn't, I always say that, like, 2000, it was around 2009 was like, and 2008 were really hard years, like that was, my son was born in 2008 in April. And then I left my husband at the time in May. He was really abusive too, so there was all that too. And then in December, I got arrested. Oh, yeah, and then CPS was called, like, in June. I got arrested in December for, like, embezzlement and some shit. Because, like, I thought I would try, like, a maintenance drug, because I didn't know what else to do. So I was like, maybe if I take this maintenance drug, I'll be okay. So I remember I went to this doctor's office, and right next door, checking the cash was hiring, right? That's a great idea. It was not a great idea. It did not work out very well. I wasn't there very long. No. Yeah, and then so I think like in February, of course, I had found some other guy to date, and he got really mad at me and called and told him I was suicidal, so they locked me up. So I ended up in a psych ward in Princeton for a few days, and that was a experience too. And then in March, I lost custody of my kids because, when CPS gets involved, they expect some improvement. I failed every single drug test, every single one. My pill counts for my maintenance was off every time. Imagine that, because that didn't work. It was, so they did. I remember the day. It was like March 25th, 2009. And I went in there, and they were like, you haven't done anything, And I'm really grateful that, like, Virginia didn't terminate my rights, because I've seen a lot of people lose their rights and not have that ability that when they do get clean to gain that relationship back. And so my kids were placed with family. And I'm really grateful for that, because they do. They mean the world to me. So then in April, I got arrested again. Yeah, like credit card theft this time. I remember it was my parents' credit cards, too. Yeah. And I had stolen so much from them over the years, and they were, my dad was my big enabler. He wanted to make everything okay, and he asked me if I took them, if I was the one that done all those charges, and I was ashamed to tell him that I had. And I bet you if I told him that I had, he wouldn't have reported them stolen, but I told him that I hadn't. And that's one of those things too that I think, like, if I would have, I'm so glad that I told him I didn't and that he reported them stolen. I'm so grateful that I got those charges, because when would I have stopped? I don't know. And so that was in April. And so I was already out on bond, right? So then they were like, you can't have two bonds. So. So they revoked my bond, and I was like, oh my God, right? Because I had been arrested a few times before, but I always ended up just in booking, right? And then someone would bail me out, and this time it was like, you're not getting bailed out. And I was like, wait a minute, So I remember when I got in there, the girls told me that I stared at the door for 3 days, waiting for someone to come get me or something. I'm really grateful for that period of incarceration, because it made me quit. I know there's typically a lot of drugs in jail. There weren't in that jail at the time, and I'm really grateful for that, because I needed a timeout. And I think I was 25 at the time. And I think about that, and I was like, I was 25, and my life was just fucked, already. And so I remember my dad called me, and he was like, there's this program that we want you to do. It's a really intensive, treatment program. And I was like, fuck that. I am not doing that, No. And then this was maybe a month in, right? So then a little bit more, 3 months in, I was like, okay, we'll talk about that treatment program. I'm ready to get out of here. I've been in here long enough. I don't want to be in here anymore. And so they released me into drug court. And drug court, they kind of messed with my using, right? So I got out, right? And I got out, and I was like, I'm going to do good, right? I was like, I am going to do good. I really had that desire, right, to do good. And then, like, what happened is one of my dealers and this other guy was in drug court. And I was like, and so they were like, do you want to do some drugs? And I was like, okay, right? So looking, like, that was, again, was one of those moments. I said, I didn't know how to say no. I didn't know. I wanted to change really bad, but if I didn't change my life and who I was around, right, nothing was going to change. And so, of course, at the time, I didn't see that. Someone offered me free drugs, and I did it. You know, that's all I really knew to do at the time. I mean, jail didn't, do anything besides dry me out. And so I got released into drug court. It was September, 2009. And I can remember, I had to go to meetings. And so my first meeting was the Welcome Home group in Bluefield, West Virginia. And I went in, and I went to a few meetings, and everyone talked about sponsors and step work, right? And so I can remember I asked Beverly, I was like, what's this thing about the sponsor? I guess I need to get one, and she was like, you should ask Catherine. I was like, okay. So I did. I asked her. I don't think I utilized you at all in September or October. I don't think I did anything because in October they locked me back up, and they were like, if your addiction is this bad, you need to go to treatment. And I was like, I didn't want to go to stupid treatment, It was so, anyway, they sent me to this 90-day treatment program, and this was in October. And, I was thinking about it. I am so grateful that I went to a treatment program that used Narcotics Anonymous. When I got there, they gave me a basic text, and it was amazing because most places use the other fellowship more. And so for me, Narcotics Anonymous is my home. It's my life, And so I go to this place, and they give me a basic text, and they were like, you're not a bad person. They were like, you're sick, And I was like, what? I thought I was horrible all this time. What are you telling me? And it was huge, right? I mean, I thought I was the worst piece of shit in the whole world because my parents were like, why can't you quit for your kids? Don't you love your kids? What's wrong with you? And I'm like, I have no idea what's wrong with me. I don't know why I can't stop. I didn't know. And so I did. I thought I was horrible. And so when they told me that, at first I was kind of mad because I was like, I don't want this stupid disease, I was angry. I don't want it. Take it back, And then I thought, well, it could be worse. At least we have treatment and we get better. And it's not painful treatment, right? It's easy. I mean, it's not easy. It's simple. It's simple, right? It's not always easy. And so I'm really grateful for that program. And sometimes people ask me, they're like, what was the thing that made you finally decide to stop? And when I was there from October to January. And, I told you guys my kids are everything to me. And I love them so much. And so when I was there, I was 3 hours from home in the middle of nowhere. And I was in Lee County, Virginia, way out there. And so I couldn't see my kids on holidays, those Halloween and Thanksgiving and Christmas, and they were little. My youngest son was 1 and my oldest son was 4, and I don't know, but it was just they told me, they said, you don't ever have to miss another holiday. If you stay clean, you don't ever have to do this again. You don't have to miss any more. And I clung to that. I was like, okay, because this shit hurts and I don't want to do this anymore, right? And so when I come home, it was right before I come home, I called Beverly because I was ashamed to call Catherine. I was like, I haven't called her at all. I'm horrible. And Beverly was like, have you called your sponsor? And I was like, no. And so when I come home, I went to a meeting, and I started using my sponsor, and I started calling her. And they were like, you can chair a meeting, right? Because my sponsor and my grand sponsor, they do service work, right? And they were like, you can do service work. Service helps, keeps you clean, right? Service saves lives. That's what it is. Service saves lives. Yours first. So it's like I was finally willing to do these things. It made no sense to me. I thought this was fucking crazy that you sit around in a room, like in a circle, and talk to each other, and somehow you get better. I mean, it was just weird to me. It just felt kind of strange, But I was like, okay, this is what they tell me to do. I'm going to do it, right? And I'm so grateful for that, right? It doesn't have to make sense. It doesn't have to make any sense. It can seem like the craziest thing in the world. And so I started working steps, and that's where the change really comes from, where I finally get to look at all that stuff and figure out. And it took a while. Let me say, I was pretty messed up for a little while. Even clean, I was like, man. Those things that I did to seek comfort, were still there besides the drugs. And it took a while. And I made a lot of wrong choices, right? And did a lot of things that caused me pain. And, my sponsor would say you can do whatever you want to do if you're willing to handle the consequences, whatever they may be. And then she was like, and the problem is you don't always know what they're going to be, right? And so there were times that I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm good. I can handle that. I know what the consequences will be. But I didn't really know, right? Sometimes there are things like that take away from my self-worth or my self-esteem, things that chip away at those things that you can't see, that you don't really expect are going to happen. And I haven't had to do anything like that in a long time, I haven't had to compromise my values, right, and my self-worth. So like in drug court, they make you do a lot of treatment and stuff, right? And I can remember going to group, and this one group in particular really stands out to me because I was talking to my counselor about how I deserved to get my ass beat. I did messed up stuff. I deserved it. I ran around, stole, I did whatever, and I really thought that I deserved bad things, I thought I deserved to have a horrible life, and she was like, no, you didn't. You didn't deserve that. And it was like, what? I thought I did. And it took me many years being clean to finally recognize my value, as a person, that I am good enough just because I am me, And when I think about that little girl that was like, 4-ish, this is like my earliest memory, that thought that I wasn't good enough because my sister was shorter and smaller, right? She was little and petite, and I felt like this big, monster or something. And so to finally, 25, 30 years later, finally be okay with who I am, that's like my favorite gift of recovery, is that I don't have to hate myself and that I can love myself because I'm worthy, And so sometimes, I'll tell people I'm fabulous, right? Because I'm like, I'm fabulous, Yeah. And sometimes people tell me I'm conceited, you know. And I'm like, you don't know what I've been through. I have earned this fabulousness, you know. So fuck you, you know. Because I'm proud of me today, you know. So like when I got here, CPS had made me like sign this safety plan, you know, and they did this child protective order where they were like, you can't be alone with your kids and you can't drive your kids in the car. And so I remember, I think it was October. I had, 10 months clean roughly, and I think that's right. I went and petitioned the court to get unsupervised visits, right? And so I got it, you know? And they were like, sure, you've been doing well. You've got a job. You're doing a good job. And I can remember the first meeting I drove my kids to in the car, and I was like, I drove my kids there. Oh, my God, you know? And then it was those things like, I remember the first time I personally bought like Christmas presents or birthday presents, like things that I had never been able to do before. It was such a big deal. Such a big deal. Another, a goal I had, my dad has like 6 kids, right? And so out of all 6, everyone had graduated college but me. You know, they all had went to college and done things, and I'm the only drug addict, right? You know, and they look at me like, oh my God, what is wrong with you? You know, now they drink like crazy, right? But oh, you drug addict, you know, so anyway, that was a goal of mine, right? Was to go back to school, and so I graduated with my bachelor's degree in 2013. Whoa! Yeah. And I was very proud of that, right? And then I thought, well, hell, I want my master's degree. So I went back to school and got my master's degree, too. And now I'm a substance abuse counselor. And sometimes I'm like, I'm not sure why I wanted to do this. This shit's hard, right? Yeah. But I love what I do. I love what I do. And I started working for the company that did the treatment in drug court. I started out as a recovery coach, you know, and then they hired me on as a counselor, and they're proud of me, and they like the work that I do, and it's really cool, you know, and it's cool to be able to share my recovery with people at work too. Like, I really enjoy that. I got married. Jeremy told me I had to say nice things. Not really, he didn't. I think Nick told me that, actually. He said it was my wifely duty or something. But, no, but I can honestly say that I'm very grateful for Jeremy. Like, he has, you know, I've always, like, wanted to be with somebody. Like, you know what I mean? To have that bond of, like, we're going to work together in life, and we're going to do this, and we're going to work hard, and we're going to raise kids, and, you know what I mean? We're going to better ourselves. Like, I want that. And I hadn't really found anyone. I think my banker was broke too, right? So, but I hadn't had anybody that did that, and he has, and he's really worked hard with me. And when I was in grad school, I was working full time, and I was going to school on the weekends, and I was working on Sundays, and, you know, I mean, I was not home very much, right? And so the kids survived on frozen pizza and stuff, but, like, he did it, you know, and I'm really, really grateful for that. He does not cook, no. Maybe. No. They made it through it, and so I can say that my life has definitely improved since he's been in it, and I'm very grateful for that. I love my home group members. You guys are amazing. I go to a meeting, and it's just like I just feel better when they're in the room. And Sharon does give the best hugs too. And she's like, I think it's because we're the same height. Maybe it's just like we just like smoosh together really well. And it's nice, right? It's nice to be able to hug someone and like stay, not just one of those like hugs, but like where you really like hug and breathe deeply, and feel better. And it's really cool. I don't know how long have I been up here?
3 hours.
I'm kind of sweaty. I know. 31, is that all? Right? I don't know if I have much more to say. I think so. I think that's all that I have. Thank you.
She is absolutely fabulous. Is there anybody, okay, let's have a seat. Is there anybody that wanted to recognize Clean Time tonight? Give out coins or key tags or anything?